This is Chaim Bloom. He was hired by the Red Sox on October 25th, 2019, after they parted ways with Dave Dombrowski. This, on its own, there's no issue with. Dombrowski often leads front offices that are in win-now mode and drains farm systems for talent. The big promise with Chaim was that he was to cut payroll and get the Sox under the tax threshold, which, that made sense. Red Sox had some bad contracts at the time, and resetting the tax could be beneficial and allow the team to reload for a title charge a year or two down the line. The window would then be open again for a few years, and the tax base could also help the Red Sox retain homegrown talent like Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Rafael Devers. This is the story of how the Red Sox went from looking like perennial contenders to a team fighting just to earn a wild card berth. His first season in charge, Chaim made some interesting moves to say the least. He started out by signing pitcher Martin Perez to a one-year, $6 million deal. The lefty starter was coming off a year in Minnesota where he posted a 10-7 record in 29 starts with an ERA over 5 and a below-average strikeout percentage while walking batters above the league average. In the shortened 2020 season, Perez went 3-5 in 12 starts with an ERA of 4.5. Coincidentally, that's how much the Red Sox would spend on another year of Perez. In 2021, he would go 7-8 with a 4.74 ERA and would appear 4 times out of the bullpen in the postseason, giving up 5 runs in 3 innings pitched against the Astros. Following the 2021 season, he returned to Texas, where he has had a career year and made his first All-Star team. I understand why he was signed and the potential upside he had, just wasn't able to cut it in Boston. The second transaction from that offseason that I want to look at is the now infamous Mookie Betts trade. On February 4th, 2020, there were rumblings that Mookie Betts was on the move to the Los Angeles Dodgers. This deal would have landed Verdugo and Brusdar Graterol in Boston, with Price and Betts headed the other way. Instead of that return, which still wasn't that great for a 4-time All-Star, perennial MVP candidate, the return the Red Sox actually got was Verdugo, Jeter Downs, and Connor Wong. When you compare this to the packages that are currently being talked about for Shohei, Ohtani, and Juan Soto, or the package that the Cleveland Guardians got for Francisco Lindor, you have to ask yourself why this was all we could get. Sure, Alex Verdugo, solid MLB level player, but he's no Mookie Betts, who at the time of writing leads the MLB in WAR over the last 5 years. Verdugo, 35th ranked prospect in all of MLB at the time of the deal, so I can understand his inclusion. Jeter Downs, not in the top 100 at the time, and still isn't. His recent call-up to the big leagues has allowed him to record his first MLB home run, but he hasn't been all that special, hitting 172 in 29 at-bats at the time of writing, and he hasn't fared much better in AAA. Finally, we have Connor Wong, only 21 career at-bats and hitting 286 in those at-bats. His numbers in Worcester, about the same, but arguably he deserves a longer look in the majors. We just don't have the room at the catcher position. So, why didn't we get more for Mookie? Well, Chaim insisted that we dump half of David Price's horrible contract as a part of that deal. Think about that. We included one of the best players in baseball as part of a salary dump. Many will try to mention that Mookie wouldn't have re-signed in Boston. However, he recently came out and said the opposite. In an interview with the Boston Globe over the All-Star break, Betts was asked if he would have stayed in Boston for what the Dodgers offered him. Absolutely, I just don't get it, Betts told the Globe. This trade marks the start of my qualms with Fenway Sports Group, the owners of the Boston Red Sox, along with Liverpool Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, and recently the Pittsburgh Penguins. I just don't understand how you can trade a player like Betts and be okay with getting so little back. The Nick Pivetta trade is one of Chaim's moves that I rate pretty highly. With Brandon Workman and Heath Hembree heading to Philadelphia, Pivetta looks to be one of the few consistent pitchers in the organization today. While Workman would return to Boston in 2021 before hanging it up, Hembree would post an ERA over 12 in 11 appearances in Philadelphia. The Red Sox would also acquire Connor Seabold in this deal, who looks as though he could be a solid major league pitcher. The 2020 season was an embarrassment for the club as they finished 12 games under 500, 5th place in the division, and changes would need to be made for 2021. Hunter Renfroe was coming off a down year in Tampa, and at $3.1 million was an absolute steal, a perfect replacement for Jackie Bradley Jr., and he led the league in outfield assists, hit 31 bombs, and helped lead the Red Sox to an ALCS appearance. The Rule 5 draft was a shining example of Chaim's handiwork as he picked up Garrett Whitlock from the Yankees, who proved to be a pivotal bullpen arm down the stretch in 2021. From here, it would head downhill. Chaim would sign another Garrett that offseason, Garrett Richards, who spent 2 years in San Diego with an unimpressive ERA of 4.65. The Red Sox rewarded him with a $10 million contract, which was more than 2 times as much as Martin Perez, who had similar numbers in 2020, was making. When he had an ERA over 5, Richards would speak out against the new foreign substance rules, claiming they were the reason for his poor results. He would not be re-signed. In early February, the Red Sox would make another trade and find his pitcher. Star outfielder Andrew Benintendi was sent to the Royals in a 3-team deal that landed the Red Sox Franchi Cordero, Josh Winkowski, Freddie Valdez, and Grant Gambrell. Benintendi was coming off a down year in 2020, a year that saw the Red Sox lose their manager for a year, and there was that whole highly infectious disease making its round. So the Red Sox traded him to Kansas City, where he would immediately return to form, earning a Gold Glove in 2021, and he was named an All-Star in 2022, hitting .319 into the break. Franchi has lit up AAA when he's there, but has been a massive letdown in the majors, hovering just above the Mendoza line in 2022 after being below it in 2021. He's played both first base and right field this year, looking subpar at both. To me, it's clear he's not MLB quality. Winkowski has made just 7 starts at the time of writing, going 3-4. His 3 wins came during the stretch in June when the Red Sox would play just about every bad team in the league, and it's somewhat concerning to me. His ERA sits at 4.3, however it has risen over his recent starts after he blanked the A's earlier this year. Kid could have something, but I don't see it. Freddie Valdez entered the Red Sox top 30 prospect list after the trade, but he has since fallen out of the rankings and has not advanced in level since the trade. Grant Gambrell has also not advanced out of high A, which is where he was with Kansas City. Unfortunately, he has spent a large chunk of time on the IL this year, so it's unsure how good he may actually be. The Red Sox were shockingly good in 2021, so much so that they were buyers at the deadline, where they traded Aldo Ramirez to the Nationals for Kyle Schwarber, who became affectionately known as Kyle from Waltham. In 41 games with the Sox, he hit .291 with 7 home runs while filling the void of talent that was first base. Naturally, he was not re-signed and would go on to be an All-Star in 2022. Following the season, but prior to the lockout, the Red Sox would make another trade, this time sending Hunter Renfroe to the Brewers to bring back JBJ and 2 prospects, one being Alex Benillas and the other being David Hamilton. I'm not quite sure what Chaim was thinking here, because JBJ is just as offensively challenged as ever, which was fine when the lineup was filled with stars like Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. However, his defense has also impressed. Renfroe has been a better defender this year. Sure, before going to the Sox, his defense wasn't great. Considering the money is similar, I'd rather have Hunter Renfroe or Andrew Benintendi than the corpse of JBJ. There's no monetary argument. We are paying over $20 million this year for players not to play for us, and that doesn't even take James Paxton into account, who's earning $10 million against the luxury tax to do absolutely nothing. The Trevor Story contract is the last specific deal for me to talk about. To me, with how close to the season he signed, this felt like the front office rushing a signing to please the fans. And you know what they say, listen to the fans and you'll be sitting with them. Story excited me, but I was cautiously optimistic about signing a player who played 81 games here in high altitude. It is yet to be seen how Story will perform over the course of a full season and the length of his contract, but it's not looking too great so far. 2 events inspired me to make this video. The leak about the Red Sox using Matt Olson's recent contract with the Braves as a comparison for a Devers contract, and Friday, July 22nd's emotionally devastating loss to the Blue Jays by a score of 28-5. If Rafi is allowed to walk, I may follow. We trot out a AAA quality lineup most nights, with Rafi and Xander being the main exceptions. Our young players don't hustle, they can't hit, and it appears they can't see either. Overall, I feel Chaim Bloom has been an inadequate chief baseball officer and should be relieved of his duties following the season, if not sooner. He has managed to lose every trade he has made, either outright or by not locking up the talent long term. Thank you for watching. Please consider leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel if you like the video. And I'll see you guys whenever I see you. Thanks.